Okay, mic check, mic check, mic check. Should be able to now hear, see the screen, all that. Streaming on multiple platforms here, YT, IG, TT. Welcome, welcome. Mr. Blue here, TradePhantoms.com. All right, cool. Let's kick this off today. Timestamp. Today is Thursday, August 21st, 2025. And again, I'm your guide, your host, Mr. Blue from TradePhantoms.com. I'll spend about an hour here and go over some pre-market prep in regard to futures, do some options, maybe trade the open here. Audio should be good across the board here. Just checking. It looks like we're good to go. Disclaimer: there's going to be some noise in the background. There's some work being done in my house here, my home here. So you might hear some things in the background. No big deal. All right, that said, let's kick this off here. Trade Phantoms, right? Supply, demand, institutional demand supplies strategy here at Phantoms. Okay, top down multiple time frame analysis. Here's a document that I bring up every single morning, no matter where I am. What you will see is a bunch of colors. Well, you'll see a bunch of orange, yellows, and blues on my charts. And what that is going to do is going to be color codes for specific time frames. So, for example, monthly is going to be orange, weekly is going to be yellow, daily is going to be blue. So anything that you see in those colors are going to be having to be associated with those higher time frames there, monthly, weekly, daily. Super important there. There's a checklist there to kick off kind of people's trade plans there. We got bullish candlesticks, a bunch of fancy names. However, location and context is most important in regard to where these candles are formed. Typically, bullish candlesticks, we're going to be looking for these in the context of uptrends, pulling back into a demand zone. So bearish candlesticks, a bunch of fancy names here too as well. However, context and location is going to be more important. Typically, these are going to be looked for or looking for these patterns at supply in the context of downtrends. That would be a lot more better in terms of probability. And we have this thing called the liquidity map here that we share at Phantoms here. And this is something that we discuss in detail when with more time, with more time. And it kind of breaks it down into quadrants, understanding there's two actions, buys and sells, that create demand and supply. However, there's four possibilities, knowing where the buyers to enter the market versus buyer to covers and exit shorts, or selling to exit from longs and or sell short to enters. And we kind of break that down into the multiple time frame analysis approach. Another thing too, just real quick, noteworthy is good morning, folks. See y'all in here, Joe Frank, Valdar, KK Curtis, good morning, Paul, good morning. All right, so today we do have some economic news coming out in regard to the U.S. Today, of course, being Thursday, August 21st. And if you could see this here, at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, we did have, 20 minutes ago, give or take, unemployment claims and Philly Fed Manufacturing Index. As always, we're going to, trade the tape. I'm not going to turn this into an economics 101 class here, that's for sure. But, we're going to trade the tape in terms of price action. Markets are moving. We're going to get to the charts in a moment in regard to futures. But noteworthy here is a key takeaway, 9:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time here. We do have flash manufacturing PMI and flash services. Okay, and 10 a.m. we have existing home sales. And of course, Jackson Hole is starting here too, where all the late August, all the big wigs kind of go out there and I'll discuss monetary policy and all that kind of good stuff, right? So 9:45 hit point manufacturing, that's going to be 15 minutes after the open, so that could potentially move markets. And we have 10 a.m. as well, existing home sales, less of an impact, but noteworthy there for something in terms of a piece of news that comes out. Let's get to the charts here. I'm going to start with the futures markets. And so that said, here's Snicker Swim here. And I will put this just on a daily time frame here. I know it might be difficult to see a little bit here with all these lines here, but I got the S&P futures on the upper left, NASDAQ futures upper right, Dow Jones lower left, Russell 2000 bottom right. And I'm just taking a quick peek here. I'm going to get down to the smaller time frames in a moment and analyze some setups. But right now, as we speak, okay, S&P is down 0.42%, NASDAQ 0.44%, Dow Jones 0.4%, and we got Russell 2000 small caps down 0.67%. Mainly I'm going to be trading the S&Ps and the NASDAQs here for the most part, okay, but just making a point here that, most futures are going to be down here so far this morning. Doesn't mean that we're going to remain down, okay, but pre-market, we're down. I'm kind of zooming in here on a daily time frame. I'm going to clean this up a little bit here, especially if I'm going to be streaming multiple services here, but we got the platform, I should say. But here's a daily time frame of the S&P futures. Okay, as you can see, this week we have a couple of days down. Okay, some fall through lower. Okay, we had a discussion yesterday in the live trade room at Phantoms where we were discussing, okay, great, we're coming down, but we really didn't break any higher time frame structure, right? So, we had a discussion longer term yesterday. So we broke that down. So even though we are coming down, okay, we haven't really broken any kind of monthly, weekly, or even daily higher high, high low uptrend structure. Okay, still in a bull market. Markets need to come down at some point, right? So we're coming down to some levels here. I'll drop down to the smaller time frames in a moment, and we'll map out what's called Globex high, Globex low. Okay, but we're on a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 day, down week so far, coming into Thursday's session into today. Okay, but on the trading view charts, I will get a little bit more cleaner and organized as this is it's not really easy to see these levels here. Nasdaq daily time frame here as well. Right, a couple weeks. A couple candles, days, I should say, down. Okay, all-time high. Last week, and we are getting some movement to the downside. A lot of this is having to do with the Mag 7 being a little bit more heavy, meaning down over. I'd say late part last week into early part this week. But that needed to be done because some of these stocks are typically really high. AVGO, right? Nvidia, Meta. Okay, just to name a few. Microsoft, right? Just exploding to the upside in terms of all-time high. So that can't last forever, right? So things have to kind of calm down a little bit. Right? And so this week is definitely a digression in terms of price action coming down. Okay, that's okay. That's okay. All right, I'm going to drop over into the monthly, weekly, daily here, and get to the smaller time frames. We'll map out some levels. So I'm always looking at the monthly here, over here on the left, weekly here in the middle, daily here on the right. Monthly, weekly, daily. That's super key there as we go through the process. And I have a 60-minute time frame here in the upper left, 30-minute time frame in the bottom left, 5-minute here in the middle, followed by a 2-minute time frame here on the right, just to give you folks kind of the lay of the land here. Popping open the 1-hour time frame of the S&P futures. So this is ES, 1-hour time frame of the S&P futures. Okay, here's current price over here down into the left. Okay, and one of the first things that we want to do is map out what's called our Globex high and Globex low, overnight high and overnight low. In Thinkorswim, this is going to be this gray space here, which kind of highlights, if you will, that said overnight session. Okay, so futures are down 0.4%. But before I delete this, typically what I like to do in regard to the Phantoms group, as we typically connect virtually almost every day, is before I kind of adjust this, I like to give a small, very quick little recap of kind of what happened on the prior day, right? Just to give some recap here. So yesterday we had a Globex high here, Globex low here, and we had a couple levels lower, okay, for what's called these Globex or G traps, Globex traps, trapping people who are chasing price lower into a level of institutional demand, okay? And so we had a Globex low here, and we had two levels kind of mapped out. Number one, we had one that was a kind of aggressive at the 63.97 handle here. Then we had a second one down here at the 63.80 with this daily low tag here, 63.69 in the S&P futures. And we were discussing how we had two levels here, one aggressive, the other one was a bit more better down here, looking for this liquidity sweep below here. And so yesterday, the team did good work where we kind of, some traders were short off the open there, right, calling that. And then we had to get into what's called a bullish trade down in here, G trap. Okay, so I'm going to update this line here, but we had a nice lesson. Yeah, nice live trade room yesterday with the team at Phantoms, and we all worked together here. Getting short, taking the market down, being patient, and then getting to a certain level and criterion that we talked about yesterday, and then the market went right back up, and we had some, took the market down, and took the market right back up. Okay, demand supply up down. All right, at Phantoms, we don't really care where the market's going to go. Okay, we're just trying to get on the right side and ride. Okay, but that was yesterday. What about today? Okay, so I'm going to update that now, right? So I'm going to take this blue line here, and right now, as we speak, this is the current price down here on the right. This is going to be the current, right now, Globex low, right there, okay, represented by that blue line. All right, now I'm just going to delete this line right there, just to kind of clean that up just a little bit there. Okay, I like to keep the boxes here, okay, so you can see some reference point in regard to what happens as we map out these levels. Okay, so there's the new Globex low today, okay, and I'm going to take this line right here and take this and move this over into what's called the Globex high, the overnight high, which is right here today. Okay, so Globex high, give or take 64.20s in the S&Ps. Globex low, if that withholds right now for the next 32 minutes, give or take, before the market opens on regular trading hours at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, that's going to be the Globex low 63.84. Now, if that does make a new low, you would update that line, okay, to reference now that new Globex low. Okay, so we'll see. Okay, but if that stands like that, then that will be the Globex low. Now, what I'm looking for is what's called a G trap, right? So trapping retail traders. So breaking Globex lows, below Globex low, I'm looking for an institutional level of demand. And typically, I want to see it nice, prime, and fresh. So if I look down and left, we already touched this level yesterday and kind of went through this as the liquidity sweep lower down here. Okay, we were discussing that in the room yesterday. Good job to the team. But if we break this now, even yesterday's low, for example, okay, I do have this handle here, 6350 in the S&P futures. This level was developed. If you can look at the chart over here to the left, it might be a little bit difficult on TikTok. Don't worry on TikTok. I'm going to be streaming on TikTok Studio soon, so you'll be able to see the screen. This is my third stream, so I think after this, I'm good. I'm qualified to do TikTok Studio. Anyways, moving on here, right? So we got the 6350. There is a drop, a nice little decent basing in a rally here. Okay, that comes in at 6350 on the S&P futures. This could be used as a G trap. Okay, potentially today, hypothetically, if we make that new low in here today. Now, one thing I want to make a note of, and I'm not going to have as much time today to discuss this in more detail, but my Phantoms members will know that we have this daily low here. Okay, if you look at August 7th, that's the date, August 7th. August 7th was 2 Thursdays ago, 2 weeks ago, right? This daily low in the S&P futures comes in at 63.33. Okay, so there's a daily low right below that 63.50 handle. Okay, so we're always looking for what's called these liquidity sweeps. So today, in the event that we do go below this 63.50 level, this daily low right here could potentially be used as a nice little liquidity sweep again here today, kind of similar to yesterday. Okay, so that comes in terms of price at about 60. You might want to write this down. Okay, to cross-reference on your own personal charts, 63.27 handle. Okay, so 63.27 right below that daily low on August 7th. Okay, there's a level on level on level all over here. Okay. Another notation here is there's going to be another, my Phantoms will know, we talked about this yesterday, a shelf right below here. There's another daily low right here. There's like 3 levels right below current price. There's current price. There's 1, 2, there's 3 levels with 2 or 3 daily lows as well. So I also put a reference point here, write this down, 63.10. 63.10 in the S&P futures today. That could also be used as more of a liquidity sweep as well in the event that we pick up more momentum from yesterday's move down and we go a little bit more lower. Okay, so we grade these levels. Okay, we have I'd say kind of 3 reference points here. 63.50, that would be the first one, and then I'm going to be looking for that 63.28. 63.28 as the first daily low liquidity sweep. Let me just write that down. As a note. I could look into that, Veldar. I see your question, comment, brother. Yeah, I can. I won't do it now, but next stream I'll try to go into the settings there and see if I can work that out. Fair enough. All right, this is taking too long here. So 63 in terms of me. 63.28. Okay, that's that daily low liquidity sweep. Number 1. Okay. Now I'm going to copy and paste this, and there's an even bigger, better one. Hypothetically, in the event that we get down here, 63.10 handle on the S&P futures. S&P futures on IGJ, JR. Jarl. This is S&P futures, brother. All right, on a 1 hour time frame. All right, the better one would be lower, of course, 63.10 level. All right. And this is where I just know I don't have enough time to explain it right now. With a lot of retail traders will have stop losses below these levels, playing levels tight. Okay, so there will be interesting to see that today. Okay, so my Phantoms members will know how to kind of grade, if you will. All right, first one being 63.50. I'm going to put a little bit of an aggressive kind of asterisk on this, just because we've been having some higher volatility. Aggressive, higher volatility. So in the event that we do kind of slam lower, I want to have y'all understand that this is that first one, 63.50, is a little bit more aggressive as it's right below that global low, which is great. Okay, decent little level right there. Okay, but just like yesterday, we kind of went through kind of the first one a bit there, which wasn't the super highest grade, and then we kind of sifted out, okay, some weekly daily lows for liquidity sweeps. So I'm hoping that I helped y'all there. This is all recorded too on YT, the abbreviation for that social media platform there. All right, on YT, you can check that at TradePhantoms YT channel there. Okay, so that liquidity sweep number one, liquidity sweep number two. All right, 50, the 28 handle and this 10 handle, 63. Okay, on the S&P futures could be the secondary kind of or second or third level here for that liquidity sweep. Now, right now as we stand, this is the 1 hour time frame of the S&P futures. Okay, so yes, given the fact that we are having a move down this week, okay, S&P futures are clearly in a lower low, lower high state on the 60-minute time frame. Okay, so in order for this thing to really get some legs, we would have to kind of break above and hold above this Globex high. Okay, however, we have to be careful with that. Above this said Globex high, we can also look for what's called a G-trap short. Okay, so I'm looking for an institutional level of supply above the Globex high. So that blue line right there, 63.20 handle, is going to be representative of the Globex high. I'm looking for a level of supply above that. We already have a couple levels mapped out from yesterday that are still valid. Okay, 64.50, if you can read that, 64.55. Do not put your stop loss right at 64.55 above this level. Okay, you're probably going to get stopped out liquidity sweep wise. Okay, I'm going to scale in on that. Secondary level up here with a daily low sweep on the high side up here would be 64.80 handle, 64.80. Okay, 64.80 up there. However, I'm going to update that because yesterday we had a nice drop. Okay, that provided some dump here. So above this Globex high, we also have yesterday's high in the futures market right here, which comes in at 64.37. Right. So here's a daily high here, and what happens with this is mapping out that daily high, we could potentially have a liquidity sweep above yesterday's daily high that we could use for a potential G trap here today. Okay, so 64, call it, 40 could be used for a nice, decent G trap short. Okay, if long, take profit up here, take profit, book some gains. Okay, and if we kind of slam up here, if we slap up here very quickly, okay, we could potentially take what's called a G trap short for a quick little mean reversion here. Now that we have a little more of a supply dump on the market just for this week. Okay, now we're still in an overall major bull macro uptrend. Okay, we had a discussion about that in our trade room at Phantoms yesterday, right, with the team. Excellent discussion. All right, so 64.40 would be that first kind of G trap, if you will, be above yesterday's high if you look at the futures. Okay, and then we got these lower levels down in here. Okay, this is recorded, so you can always go check the recording on that. That was S&P on a 1 hour time frame. Now, I'm going to go to NASDAQ. And, same thing here, right? I'm going to try to do this a little bit more quicker now. Okay, here was yesterday's price action, right? We had yesterday's Globex high here, Globex low here. And yeah, great. We had an aggressive level. That just got annihilated, an aggressive level right here. Then we went lower. Okay, we had better levels down in here, 23,155, 23,005. Okay, and then the daily low right there, at daily low, that NASDAQ just went a couple of points right below, 10 points right below that daily low right there. Doink. Swap that, and then mean reverted right back up. Okay, so we had that kind of level planned out. I was focusing a little bit more on the S&P and the SPX. Okay, but again, just real quick, a small little recap from the prior session, as I always do with my Phantoms group. Now, today's Globex high on the NASDAQ here, updating this. I'm just going to clean this line up just a little bit there. All right, that was the aggressive level. Okay, but I still keep that box there for reference. All right, but here's the new Globex high now, right there, overnight high, overnight low, right here. All right, looking for an institutional level of demand, okay, below the said Globex low. Okay, now we can potentially use yesterday's low. Okay, we had that drop, this base in this rally, but this was a retest to this level over here, right? So I'm looking for fresh and higher quality, right? So if I look below even yesterday's low and that daily low, okay, what I'm looking at here today in the NASDAQ, if you might want to write this down, 22,975, 22,975, 22,975. This could be used as a nice G-trap long. Right into this area here, as I already have kind of mapped out to the left. We have an impulse, basic impulse over here to the left. Okay, so we can use this area in here as a potential G-trap long. Okay, now the thing about this is we also have a daily low down in here at 22,824. Okay, and we also have a weekly low, not last week's low in here, but we have a weekly low down in here at the 22,780. So if this level does not work out and NASDAQ picks up more legs lower, okay, we also are referencing this level down here, which is a weekly level, which is very powerful on the higher time frames. That comes in at about 22,820 handle on the NASDAQ futures on a 1 hour time frame. okay, for your reference point right now. Okay, so key hit points here, 22,975 into that area right here. If you look down on the left, okay, we have an impulse, basic impulse right here. That was created during the overnight session, so I still am keeping that aggressive notation on that. Call it the 22,900 level, okay, on NASDAQ futures. So in the event that we do swipe lower, okay, we got these this level down here in terms of the weekly level of demand, okay, and that higher time frame in terms of location is going to be a lot greater, okay, for a level in terms of demand, okay. Oh, forgot the G trap short. Here's Global XI. And we already have kind of a level mapped out from yesterday's session that really didn't hit. So we can keep that on the board here, 22,584, 23,705. Okay, there's two supply levels, drop base drops in here, and some flip zones, okay, to the upside. Now, here's the Global XI here. And this is going to be yesterday's high. So just like I did in the S&P futures, I can update this. This is yesterday's high here. Snap that out. And why am I mapping that out? Well, if we were to, rally above here, I'm looking for a level of supply above that level. And we do have some drop base drops of level of supply right above that daily high from yesterday. Okay, so this area could be used beautifully, okay, for a decent G trap here as well, right? So I'll make a notation here. I'll copy and paste this line. So 23,540 handle, nice little G trap level here as well. All right, for the short, if long, UTP take some profit up here, book some gains, and you could potentially take and tackle a G trap short. Okay. Now, some of you folks might be looking at, hey, Mr. Blue, man, why'd you skip this level right there from yesterday's drop? That's going to be super obvious. So what I'm looking for is a liquidity sweep above that. Right? I don't have enough time to explain that. We've got 20 minutes before open. Next up, VIX. Where you at? TradePhantoms.com if you want to learn a little more about that. Coffee. VIX. Volatility index of the S&P 500, 30-day implied vol. All right. And so key takeaway here is going to be very simply put, if VIX up, typically market down. If VIX down, market up. All right. That's going to be inverse correlation. There's a lot more to that, believe me. But just keep it simple for right now. We're also going to map this out for the overnight high, overnight low as well. So I take this line here, a small time frame here. So this gray space here is what VIX did overnight. There's the high. Here's the overnight low right there, gray space. And I kind of just map out, okay, great. If VIX takes out the overnight high, sustains above the overnight high, then that could be more bearish for the market, at least for the day. If VIX takes out the overnight low, it kind of sustains and trends lower. That could be more bullish for the market for the day, at least, okay, for today, for day trading, etc. Right? So, and even in long-term stuff too, like if you're long-term investing or swing trading, position trading, all types of trading, you got to know what the VIX relationship is to the market, the volatility index. Yeah, right. So yesterday, as an example, we spiked up very quickly. Okay, we market dropped very fast, and then VIX kind of just calmed down, faded lower as the market kind of recovered. Okay, so yeah, VIX can go up and it could go down too as well, right? Okay, so after overnight, after yesterday and all overnight, we're on a nice little steady grind higher on VIX. The question is that going to sustain and continue? If that's the case, this market could potentially go lower as the VIX is potentially going higher. Okay, I'll leave that there for now as we'll move on. Okay, so I'm going to go over to Trading View right now, and so I'm going to cover now some SPYs, SPX, Qs, and we'll go over some Mag 7 tickers, as these are going to be the most liquid options available off the open as we potentially take some trading setups. That said, I'm going to go over to the SPY ETF of S&P 500. And here's the daily time frame of said S&P. So yesterday's high, yesterday's low. Open here, we swiped lower down in here, okay? Here's the close, a little bit of a hammer bar, not really much here, okay? In terms of there's a wick all the way down here, we closed up. It's still a red body close here, but a little bit of a hammer close, but not that strong. Okay, so we swipe lower. Now the key thing that I just want to take away from right now here is looking at the time, is I want to get a pre-market quote here in the SPY, which is about down 0.36%, pre-market quote 365. But I'm going to equate that to the SPX. Why? Well, if I do 0.35% down here, give or take, okay, that is going to let us know that the SPX implied open, give or take, is going to be about 63.75 if that sustains, in 15 minutes when the market opens. I'm going to take this information, the implied open of SPX, which is the cash index of the S&P 500, 63.75. I'm going to go over into this advanced tool here. It's going to be a little advanced. Go over to this options depth tool. Now it's going to let us know what was called the market maker gamma exposure. Okay, so super advanced here. I just want to take a couple of key takeaways here for the Phantoms group. Okay, so 63.75 is the implied open. But what am I going to do with that information? Okay, I'm going to zoom in here. This is advanced. You kind of know how options trade, and you got to know what market makers are doing, the professional traders are doing on the back end. Okay, billions and billions of dollars that's being hedged. Okay, in regard to the SPX cash index. Okay, so implied open 63.45. 63.45. I'm going to go down into the area of, let me reset this. I'm going to go down into the area of 63.75 into the SPX and see what type of gamma regimes the market makers are going to be in off the open here today. Okay, so if I go to the price point of 63.45, which is right here, okay, if you can kind of make that out right here. And what we have here is below us, we have a bit of a, not so much below us in terms of big open interest and major positive gamma. Okay, so 63.75. If I look down, okay, and left, we have a little bit of a gamma, positive gamma node here at 63.50. Okay, not strong. There's a more bigger, powerful one down here at 62.90, 62.70, all the way down here. Okay, but off the open, 63.50. If as we open potentially at around 63.75, if we come down 25 points into the 50 handle, that could be met with a bit of a small positive gamma node there with that green line there that represents positive gamma, as market makers are long calls and long puts, which provides long bullish gamma as prices are coming down. That could be used as what's called demand, okay, because it's below price, as market makers have to buy into lows into that 63.50. Not a big one there, so keep a reference point on that. Another key takeaway here from this is 63.30. Up here is a major positive gamma node as well. Up here at 64.30. In the event that markets do rally up and break above, back above 64 and get up to the 64.30 handle, okay, that's going to be met with massive positive gamma here at that handle. Okay, as we market makers are long calls and long puts here based on their book, okay, on their order books. And so as prices rally up, they would actually be having to sell into this, which is going to provide supply, okay, into the market. So I want to leave y'all with that right there, 64.30, okay, as a hit point for some supply, 63.50 as a small area of level of positive gamma demand, with a bigger emphasis on the 62.70 down there. Now this updates as the market opens, so I'll give you a little more insight on that potentially. And some of my Phantoms members that are a little more advanced know what I'm speaking here. Shout out Joe Frank, who's already putting in levels in regard to options depth and marrying that over into what the S&P Globex trap is. Okay, so this is some advanced stuff. Okay, if you want to learn how to trade a professional, we got you covered at TradePhantoms. I got to move on, right? So we'll keep that moving and grooving. All right, SPY. A couple key things too in terms of levels. In regard to, we were talking about, watch this, in regard to, go to, say, for example, the S&P futures. We were mentioning how we have a couple levels lower, right? And let's say, for example, I want to be a little bit more conservative with you folks in regard to risk tolerance, right? I'll be more, I'm more conservative, right? I'd rather let you know the risks, okay? And I'll speak in terms more of risks and let you know the risks and have y'all be pleasantly surprised, okay? Versus talking about reward first, right? So the point that I'm trying to make here is that let's map out, say, for example, if we get down to the 63.28 handle in the S&P futures, that first level of daily liquidity sweep down here, okay, that is going to be at or around the 63.28 handle, but the time stamp and date is going to be what, August 5th, at or around what time, give or take, August 5th. About close August 5th. So I want to go to August 5th here, which is right here, and just found it. So here's August 5th on the SPY. Okay, so what I just did was I just found out where that liquidity sweep below daily lows and the S&P futures would be relative to the SPY, and that's going to be right here. So this is ES futures, $63.28 daily liquidity sweep number 1. Okay. Now Joe Frank did the upper one. That was the second one lower. Joe Frank did a beautiful job here, and he went to the 63.50 handle, okay, which was developed on the date of August 7th, which we mentioned, right? That's going to be SPY down here, 628, August 7th, which is going to be this level right here in SPY. So it's that first level of G-trap on the S&P futures. All right. So this is ES 6350 handle. G-trap. Okay. And that's going to be equivalent to SPX. Joe Frank nailed it, of course. He's a trained trader. SPX 63, 25, 60, 30 handle, that same area from August 7th. Good job, Joe Frank. So this is the ES 6350. The first G-trap, not the daily liquidity sweep, right? That one's going to be a little bit more lower down here, right? Let me copy and paste. Save some time and clicks here. Come on. So this down here is going to be that second level daily liquidity sweep number 1 down here. So that's going to be below the 6,300. Nice even number below that 6,300. So that's going to be those sweep levels there. So keep in mind of the 6,300 on the SPX. Okay, I'm on the SPX at the moment. All right, just on a 1 hour time frame. All right, I'm just marrying the level, connecting the dots, if you will, between the futures and the SPX and SPY. Okay. And it was the gamma node was 6330. Not much of a gamma there, so it'll be interesting to see how the 6350 gives out, but there's not a lot of gamma right there at the 20/30 handle here. So we'll see how that updates in the pre-market prep. Okay. All right, cool. So we'll move on here. Let's go over into now minutes before open. QQQs, ETF, much on a daily time frame. Yesterday's high, yesterday's low. Okay. Actually swiped lower into some weekly levels on the NASDAQ, deeper into that level. So we were kind of on top of that as a team. We were on top of that as a team. Yesterday's high, yesterday's low here. Okay, slight gap down, inside gap. Now we're gapping down inside of yesterday's high and low range. So you got to be a little bit more cautious in terms of just looking at the gap in of itself. Okay. So yeah, we are gapping down, but yesterday's low and yesterday's high here on a daily time frame, we're gapping down into kind of like middle of yesterday's range. Okay, so today's gonna be interesting where we in the fact that we have overall still higher high, higher low context of uptrend on the higher time frames. Okay, and we got a nice drop, albeit okay, but we could continue to flush lower. You need help, buddy? Are you good?
I'm just making sure the breaker was on and it's off.
Oh, good. Sorry. It's off.
It was off, yeah. Just making sure you condense and spins. You should be all set.
All set?
Yeah, should be.
Thank you, brother.
Sorry to bother you, man.
No, you're good, brother. You got a job to do, man.
Have a good one.
Have a good one, bro. All right, cool. So yeah, here's NASDAQ, right? So, keep in mind, we can still continue to kind of flush lower here, right? But even on the daily time frame, level of control here. Even if we did swipe lower down in here, okay, we're still going to test some major levels down in here. Markets are up pretty significantly. Okay, it's okay if markets go down, right? So we're only this is only yesterday we touched a 4-point drop off the all-time highs, say on like NASDAQ here, right? So nothing crazy here. Okay, so just be patient with things there. So that's Qs. Let me go straight to some of the Mag 7 tickers. Okay, I'm going to try to get to as much as I possibly can before this market opens in about 7 minutes. Yeah, I think I just hear it blowing right now. And all right, nobody on TikTok. I am not TikTok famous, that's for sure. I don't even do TikTok. I guess I am here. All right, Apple daily high, daily low. Watch out for Apple last week's low. I could potentially see a little bit of a liquidity sweep right below, kind of trapping some people right below this daily low here today. Apple's still one of the more weaker FANG Mag 7 stocks. So this might not be the greatest one here to get long on low swipes here. Okay, as most of the Mag 7 is kind of at or around all-time highs or coming off all-time highs. Apple not so much. I don't want to talk too much about that in terms of right now, but I would keep an eye out for this low, this weekly low, where you could potentially have a bit of a little trap. But be careful with that. Apple might not be the one that I would do that on, but there is, if I were to investigate the level below this weekly low, looking for a nice clean impulse, basic impulse. Okay, you can potentially look at this 223, 224 handle, give or take, down here. Oh yeah, it's blowing. All right, there's a little sneaky play there. Amazon. Last week's high, last week's low. Yesterday's high, yesterday's low. Well, uptrend still overall. After earnings, big gap down. Kind of filled that space. Now we're kind of back in the middle of that. Amazon, in terms of location, not the greatest. Slight gap down. Yeah, we have a level here. Could potentially be a little bit of a sweep right here below it as well. Last week's low. We get a couple of monthly VWAPs, monthly level. June low. July low. Swipe. Okay, so there's a bit of something there, but again, you want to be. Yesterday, I was working front side. My phantoms will know I was working front side longs with swipes lower, and I took some heat. I had to take some heat, so I had to use position sizing appropriately, and it takes patience and discipline for that. Okay, so of course, I'd be saying, well, why are you looking at demand zones? If we're gapping down, why not just get short? Okay, we could potentially start to get some shorts off the open in the event that we get lower. Okay, take it down into some levels. Okay, take some profits for a potential bounce if that is going to be the case here today. All right, but you never know. As that market opens, things could change. AVGO. Now, this is one that I would say or suggest, like comparing Apple, for example, to AVGO in terms of a sweep. Right. This is one that I did yesterday where I legged in, okay, and then at the end of the day we kind of rallied up, kind of saved my butt a little bit there, right? However, now we are coming down lower into some weekly levels down here for AVGO. So I got a daily time frame here right now. I got a weekly low right there that literally just hit that hit yesterday with some vintage numbers. I got that front side entry right in there, and we rallied back up. That's also now going to be used as yesterday's low as we're opening today. Closed there, slight gap down. The key thing here is in the event that we do swipe lower into these daily lows. Okay, now AVGO is one that I'm not going to be potentially looking to short because it's still one of the strongest stocks, literally, in the S&P 500 and on the planet. Okay, so be careful with this beast, right? So that said, in the event comparing it to Apple to AVGO, this would be one that I would be okay with. Definitely swiping as we have this weekly low here, yesterday's daily low here. I'm going to drop below that daily low and look for a rally impulse level of demand, fresh and prime below that yesterday's low in this weekly low here. Okay, and if you can see right here, I already have a noise level notation there that comes in at about 278, 279. There's an impulse right in here. So at or around this area is going to be nice. Potentially in the event that AVGO swipes a new low, this could be nice. Okay, for if short, you ought to TP. Be careful shorting AVGO. Okay, and then down here you could potentially take a bounce trade off of this. So if short, take profits from said shorts, and then this could be a get long, and this could be a bounce for a day trade. But you can also potentially start to leg in a small swing trade as well. We need a little bit more time to explain that, but my fans will know, so I'm just kind of making a note there. I know I'm writing off the screen, so I'll put that front and center there. Okay, so that comes in at or around what I said, the 279 down into the 277, 2-3 point zone here for that ticker AVGO. Okay, nice little impulse basing about nice breakout right there. Okay, nice impulse basing, impulse demand supply flip pop. Okay, so first time back, yeah. Phantoms, bueno. Noise. Move on. Joe Frank. Yeah, it's crazy because even in the Northeast where I'm at right now, we've been getting like 98-degree weather. AC was getting all messed up. Now it's back down to 70s. Now the AC is working. Timing. Bad timing. Here's did we just cover AVGO? Google. Market's about to open. Yesterday's high, yesterday's low. No gap inside. Still bull market. Still higher high, higher low. Opening up mid range. So I want to be a little careful with that. See how the intraday tape wakes up. Opens up. Tesla, I want to be a bit careful with this one too, just because we're in the middle. SS has been in a range for quite some time. Okay. And, I don't have anything on Tesla at the moment right now. You got to know when to attack and when not to attack. Microsoft needed this thing had so much, this had like, 12 crazy weeks, like up, not even one down week at all. So, like, finally, Microsoft, we had like insane weeks up, up, up. This thing needed to come down. So, coming down, I got July's low reference there. I know a couple of Phantoms members are kind of looking at Microsoft to kind of leg into some swing trades, which is understandable. And, in terms of today, yesterday's low, we do have a weekly level down in here. Again, Microsoft, it's been having I wouldn't say bad couple of weeks, but, it exploded up on earnings, and we're just kind of giving back some of the earnings gain there. Needed to kind of calm down. That weekly level down here is going to be about 500, nice even number. There's an unfilled gap down here too on Microsoft at 497. And we just opened here. So I didn't get through as much I wanted to, but I try to get through as much as I can. All right, just opened. All right, be patient. Yeah, news can affect, of course, price. So just be noteworthy of that. But I don't really concern myself too much with news. I just trade the tape. I take setups. All right, Meta not having a good open here. Off open, we'll put that into perspective. Let me just get some internals really briefly. Be patient. You see, advanced declines, negative 12, 1300, kind of extreme there. VIX on an uptick. Vol D lower. Volume on the New York Stock Exchange up versus down, a bit lower off open. Be patient. Too early for cumulative tick, so I'm just going to park this on VIX here real quick and move on over to the tape. Let me just adjust this option depth there. And the video putting in an interesting bar. Just want to get an update on this. All right, that 50 handle is still there, but not super strong. Might have went well lower. Let me see the video. And the video has a decent looking open here. We've got long calls. And we're coming into yesterday's high, so I want to be a little careful with that. But there's a hammer bar here on dailies. So you can get a quick little scalp off in the video. It's already kind of going here in the video long call. Google looking decent. Internals a little heavy this morning. I'm calling the video. If anybody's still long the video from yesterday, those are printing right now. Take some profit, I would suggest. If you're still in those 172 halves, that's going for 450. If you're still in the 175, they're going for 278 for my Phantoms members yesterday. All right, those are printing. I'm TPing more here right now. All right, send. But in regard to today, you pick up the 177 half. They're going for about $1.44 here. All right, long call in the video. I'm gonna be a bit patient with this trade here. All right, but I just took profits on the trade that we took yesterday in the Phantoms group. And now I just entered this one here for today. It's the wrong one. All right, long call 177 half. NVIDIA for a day trade. All right, 177 half strike for Friday's expiration. Bear with me, folks. This computer, I'm not saying anything, but this computer's like behind by several clicks what I'm trying to do here. Because I'm restreaming like multiple platforms. So it makes it a little slow. I'm just pulling some daily view ups off open here. Joseph Vardaro, not trying to be criticize all you want. It's fine, brother. That's a good question. That's a good question, right? So if I go to, say, the video, right? I'm on a 4-hour, and I'm not trying to criticize either, but I'm on a 4-hour of NVIDIA. I don't see a base drop we're coming into to the upper left. Where do you see a drop base and a drop right here? I don't see nothing here. This is all leg bar, leg bar, leg bar, right? I don't see a drop base drop as coming into NVIDIA up here, right? I'm not trying to be weird. I'm not trying to be weird. I'm letting you know, right? So, and then also furthermore, in the overall bigger, higher time frames, we're still in a what, folks? Like we're still in an overall up trend. And yesterday we did a nice little big swipe right below here in the low range. Okay, does that make sense? And yesterday we printed what's called a hammer bar. Okay, so what's more stronger, folks? I love how this question got brought up. Let's TP NVIDIA first, folks. Yeah, let's TP NVIDIA first. Okay, first and foremost, hit it. Okay, TP. But if I were to ask what's stronger, a 4-hour time frame or a daily time frame? Daily time frame would be stronger because it's a higher time frame, right? So number one, I didn't really see a drop-based drop there. I don't know. Maybe your charts are different. Maybe it's maybe you got the overnight session mapped over. I'm not sure. So I didn't see a drop-based drop level of supply on the 4 hour. And then furthermore, if I'm looking at this daily time frame here that I just we'll have you focus on, not that one, this one here. We had a hammer bar close yesterday, right? Does that make sense? So sellers, that one day here, Tuesday, oh no, it was all on CNBC and Bloomberg. NVIDIA got destroyed by 3% after it's up like 1,000,000% for its lifetime, right? Oh my God, it's down 3% in one day. Oh my God. Then yesterday we had to swipe lower, okay? And sellers had it in the morning, but who won the battle at the end of the day? Buyers. That's an open here. When this was once a massive red bar yesterday, right? Massive red bar yesterday. But who won this bar at the end of the day? It's not over until the what sings, right? It's not over. It's not over yet. And then ding, 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 ding. This thing went red, turned all the way back green, and closed above where it opened, even though the low is all the way down there, folks. Right? Does that make sense? So that's buying pressure all the way to the upside. Are you with me? That's a hammer bar. Right? Are you with me? Right? In the context of an overall what? Massive uptrend, and one of the strong, literally the most powerful stock in the New York Stock Exchange. Right? Does that make sense? And now I'm not trying to criticize or anything like that. Okay. And I look at a 4 hour supply. Where? If I look at current price up and left, the next 4 hour supply would have to be what? Formation wise, as this rally, basing, and a drop. Does that make sense? That would be up here, folks. Okay. I don't see base drop nowhere in here. Okay. So I have to drop down like what, 60? I don't even see a base drop down here on the 60-minute time frame. Well, I have to drop down to the 30. Notice I have to drop down to like a 30-minute time frame. Okay, a 30-minute time frame to find some supply here. And this is still in the overall context of an uptrend. Now, if I have a 30-minute supply, okay, we can get some reaction off this. Now, were we selling up here? Were we selling up here, folks? At the supply, were we selling? I sold to take some profit, right? I sold to take some profit here. Now, let's play devil's advocate from Joseph Verdara, right? The S&Ps and the Nasdaq are a bit heavy, and they're in a pushback lower, right? So you just hit this long, TP'd some. Could this level of 30-minute supply in this mid-range kind of still work out and bring it back down here and kind of mess around and go lower? Of course it could, right? So I'm not trying to be a hero here or anything like that, but just went through a quick little discussion here as I'm kind of letting the thing on the open kind of unravel a little bit here in regard to the multiple time frame analysis, right, and putting that together, okay? So make sure you understand those formations. And if you got the overnight session on, I'm just letting y'all know I've been doing this for quite some time, okay? Wall Street and back, man, right? And a lot of traders, they'll look at the overnight session during the overnight, great, but then they usually click that off to see the regular trading session because that's where the big money comes in during the regular trading hours, 9:30 a.m. Eastern to 4 p.m. close, New York stock hours. Okay, so hopefully that helped, right? Hopefully that helped. All right, now we just TP'd. I could be wrong in this trade. We already TP'd some. All right, we'll see how this unravels. Okay, but yeah, I mean that level could work out on the intermediate time frame and mid range, and fall through lower potentially. All right, but TP'd one already on that. Let's continue. Great question. All right, let's see. Broadcom giving an interesting formation, but S&Ps are a little heavy here. Yeah, Mark, I see you work at Tesla, brother. I know you know the deal, but I want to avoid that just a little bit here on the socials just because the location of where it's at, and I already know you know the deal. I'm not trying to hide information, folks, but just location-wise, it's not super great, but Mark, seasoned Phantoms member. All right, so far range off open in the first 15 minutes on indexes. Oh, this is so slow. Google trying to hold up some bids here. Off the 20, small little hammer, trying to go. Markets are a little heavy. All right, so just be a little bit patient. This seems like a morning that will be a little quieter in the morning as I guess we have a news announcement at 45, right? In about a minute, 9:45. Let's see. All right, it's starting to break down a little bit here. All right, now in the video, TP won't burst slim below VWAP, so cut that. Get out in the video. All right. Flatten this out real quick. No, did not pull the trigger on Google. Market's a little heavy at the moment. All right, and now we got two wide range bars of SPX that we can lean against here. Right. So we're going to get some longs and puts. VIX up 7%, give or take. All right. So I'm going to look to get some puts here on SPY's SPX. VIX up 7%. Why is this thing not updating? Come on, man. All right. Well, whenever Thinkorswim decides to come back online here, I'm looking to get some puts. SPX. This thing slows down my computer too much, and I have nothing on it. Would not want to get too far away from the 6345, 6340 handle. Hey, Mike Jameson, Money Mike's in the house. Man, it's weird today. Jump everywhere. Be patient with this. I say about 6330, give or take. In terms of strike. So this is the 63 30. SPX put going for about $4. VIX off its highs. I like it because we have a clear stop loss placement above here. This could be a swipe here, but we got to take a shot at this for it. So this 63.30 strike put on SPX. All right, you see right there on TikTok there. This is the code there, right? All right, let me lock this in here on the other account. Now we got to be careful still here. Pretty choppy here. Kind of in range. So if this thing snaps above there, this is going to be probably about a risk of, we bought them at like 420, $3.75, $4. If we snap above that VWAP above here, that would be probably looking at like maybe about a 2-point risk, okay, if you were to get into this. All right, so stop loss at 220 in terms of premium. All right, now this is the 30, 63, 30. Put. All right. Yeah, not such a strong setup here. Long put bearish, not such a strong setup. But we'll see. What's the worst that can happen? You're wrong, and you cut out for a loss, manage a loss, and let the tape and the markets unravel. Everything's kind of sideways right now, off open, unfortunately for the Mag 7 and others. Right, so this is bought put, which is bearish. All right, and if this gives out, I'm going to get out. All right. Yeah, money might indeed, sir. Similar to what I was mentioning in NVIDIA, right? So yeah, there's more wick than there is body, so it's a little bit more still of a hammer here, even though it's red, indeed. Right? Does that make sense, anyway? Right, like 64 points. This thing closed what? Definitely in the upper third range. That's why strikers like, I don't even want to really take this trade right now. Too much risk. So I'm still trying to yesterday this thing had wide range bar up here and just fell through lower. Right. That doesn't mean it's going to happen again today. That was yesterday, right? But yeah, the buyers did pick up a bit there more in the SPY, SPX in there, right, along with others as well. Right, but the thing is like you see on the video, like if you just compare as a comparison, right? If you look at the video, the buyers picked that up a lot more than say like the SPY or the SPX. We traded a little bit above that already on NVIDIA, but you see how NVIDIA did not a little baby slight gap down, no big deal, but the SPY gap down like down here. Okay, so overnight, just sneakily overnight, futures were down, and the gap down into that is letting us know that the slight gap down on the daily inside of the wick. And again, I apologize, it is so slow right now because of the restreams. These buyers are a little more weaker because of that gap down inside of this. All right, so hopefully that makes sense. Now, if we kind of like stayed up here or gapped up here or even gapped above the prior day high, above this hammer, then yeah, that would have been a lot more stronger, and buyers are definitely like picking that up. So we still got some heaviness, if you will, heaviness meaning down pressure on the indexes. All right, but here I am. Like, here's VWAP, wide range bar here. Here's VWAP. We have opening days range here, right there in the first 2-minute bar. Get VWAP right here, and we just did a little doot, and then now we're just basing here. Okay, so after yesterday and the day before, it's kind of big, range expansion, if you will, right? We'll see. Kind of digressing a little bit here. The challenge with today, folks, is if I look at the previous low here on the daily and the previous high, all-time high here, just last week, right? We're kind of in the middle of that, right? This is the last up segment, the latest and greatest up segment that we had on monthly, weekly, dailies, etc., right? And we pulled back, and we're only we're in the middle, right? We're in the middle of this impulse, and we're in the corrective state right here. Okay, I'm going to deal a time frame of SPX over here on the left. Let me clean this up a little bit on the SPYs. A little bit less lines there. And so this is why I'm being, Phantoms members have been with me for a little while now. Sometimes off the open, I'm like, let's go, hit this. Sometimes I'm like, whoa, wait, be patient. This is kind of like, whoa, we be a little bit patient, let this digress, because we had some movement, right? Right, NVIDIA just clipped, right? Just went 2 days, right? 5 to 7 point swing, give or take. All right, so now we're just kind of digressing, if you will. So you got to be extremely patient. And Striker's doing a good thing here, right? Striker's like, you know what, man, I don't like this right now. I don't, my setup is not setting up as great as what I like to see, and that's good. That's good, right? That's a sign of a good trader development, right? Because folks, some days, right, you open up and it's like candy from a baby. Where you want to set up? Here's a setup. The team is like, I'm long Google, TP, I'm long NVIDIA, TP, I'm the right. But today so far, it's not that way. So today's definitely one of those days where you want to let things kind of unravel. Be patient, folks, right? And so this is the latest and greatest impulse move higher, right? And so we're on the correctional move here. Great. We're in the middle, which is kind of annoying right now, in terms of like a day trade. All right, but if I were to just say, what is it? What's the fib tool from this low to this high, just in terms of a fib, right? It's crazy. Yesterday we literally touched the 50% retracement on SPY on this latest and greatest impulse move here. Yesterday it's low right down here. Okay, it's literally the 50% tag right there on the S&Ps. Okay. So interesting, right? And so location-wise, we're in the middle. All right. The powers and forces to be on the higher time frame is still up, but the momentum for this week and for the past several days are down. So what's going to win? The overall higher time frame trend up, okay, or just the momentum right now, correctional move, kind of short-term stage forward lower, just taking prices down. Right. Oh, by the way, we don't even have to find this, but I don't even use fibs. It's boring. It's just a retracement tool. Right? Yeah, people sell things online and magical Fibonacci retrace. It's just a retracement tool. Averages. Oh my God! Let's look at this 630 SPY where we have the ESG trap that's also aligned with a 61.8 Fibonacci retracement off the latest and greatest impulse move higher. So just finding confluence, right? So these have, yesterday we didn't even look at fibs, right? Boring, right? But we caught that bottom of the low using a bit more professional tools such as market maker exposure and things like that, right? No offense to Fibonacci people, but Fibonacci's are just literally retracement and extension tools. That's it. All right, and a lot of people don't know how to use them the right way and dragging the right ones. Okay, you need to understand the higher high, higher low impulse. Right, we're on the correctional wave right now. Okay, so even if we did get down into this handle right down in here, I'm going to do the time from SPY we had left. okay, that we're still in a context of an uptrend. All right, that would trace about what 60. This would be 61% retracement. Okay, of the beginning of August, we had that drop lower, and then we ripped higher. All right, enough of that. Move market. Powell is responsible for inflation. Good story. I don't care. I literally don't care. I am just looking for price action to follow through on particular setups. We don't have that much just yet, folks. This might be a day where you might want to come back. Well, trade the open here, but things are going to have to take maybe a little time to unravel. Aaron on YT, isn't there a butthole meeting today, Jackson? Maybe, yeah, Jackson Hall. The people in control and forces to be are going to be yapping. Meta, NVIDIA, heavy. Could potentially drag down the Qs and SPYs, SPX, right? All right, so you should be profitable on this SPX trade. All right, make a new, SP, take some profit on this. Not a lot, but depending on what your fill was. I'm either kind of got them at like what 350 handle, give or take. They're going for about 450 at the moment. We just popped up to 5. All right, so you can TP some of this SPX. All right, cool. And look at that last week's low. Even though we swiped it below yesterday, that's one of the things that we were looking at. This is SPY right now. Look at that reaction off of that. I know we have another news point at 10, right? Home sales. So I'll be TB there. Let me go over to the SPX. We had the notes here. That's an interesting reaction off that weekly level. Choppy, folks, right? That could not provide a new low. All right. So now we TP'd some. Now we got to cut this. Looks like. Let's see. So if you have any left on, TP1 from shorts. I see you, Joey G. All right. And now we got to cut. It's a complete flip off that weekly. All right. So I'm gonna have to cut this now, right? Hit a TP. Cut that. So choppy, folks, right? That's why I'm having us to remain a little patient. So you might have to fight a little bit, but pick your battles. All right. That's a nice flip there, right? Google resetting up. Advanced declines improving here. VIX all over the place. However, This rejection is pretty cool here. I like the formation that the VIX and the SPX are forming. And off that weekly level, that's a complete flip here. All right, so we get long SPX. Pick up the 64.10s, going for about 360. SPX 6410 strike call. All right. All right, so you just got to learn how to adapt. But we'll see. We're not, we're still choppy. So, I mean, we need some fall through here. Of course, the risk is if this thing just kind of remains choppy. So, with everything discussed previously, right? I looked at it was SPX 10s. We get the first 30-minute bar in. And only 5 minutes into this new 13-minute bar, the 30-minute time frame here on the left, that's only 5 minutes of work there that just engulfed basically all of what happened in the morning there. All right. So flip long here. Got stopped out of the short. And got long. Why? Because that's what the market is telling me to do. Google popping out. AVGO kind of back on deck too. Well, I got to be patient with these bullish trades here still. Google looking good though on that daily over there to the right. So it's just heavy, folks. The bulls are trying to poke their head, but there's still some bears clawing down a bit, right? To speak like a 2-year-old. Lions and tigers and bears. Hold your cards tight, folks. Hold your risk. You got to know when to pull, when to pull triggers and when to be patient with things. Unfortunately, that's how trading goes. Equal weighted, slightly down. What's the mags? No, 20. 20. They're about the same. Let's see. Netflix looking super interesting too. Man, Google's one of those. Man, you just gotta get long Google, man. Well, some light risk on Google. I'm not gonna be able to be here to manage it with you. That's the thing. So we got Google here trading 202.40. So if you pick up, say, like 202 half, Google can be looking for a little pop here. Google 202 half strike call, bullish. We'll see if this pops. I typically like to buy into new highs, but let's see if we get a pop on this bad boy here. Google long call, 202 half strike. All right. All right, Google on call for a bounce. Let's see. If this doesn't fall through, it gets down to here like the 160 handle. This would be a stop loss here. As you can see, folks, it's really not much of a direction firmly down. It's not much of a direction firmly up. So it's sideways. So again, I'm trying to find some risk here, some proper risk, but try not to force it. We never, any time of the year, as you get more seasoned and more experience with trading, it's still early, right? Let me front run and that and preface that, right? It's still early. But if you're trying to force it, right, that's typically not good. You let it go. You know, there's going to be, I'm telling you, folks, there's going to be set up to the days where you're not even forcing anything. It's just like, what? That seems so easy, right? So don't make it harder by messing things up when it's not so great. You keep your risk of tolerance normal. Keep it good. You know, tomorrow, who knows? And if you take a little trade here, a little trade there, make small win there, small loss there, whatever. Okay, things not really operating that well. All right, tomorrow, who knows? It could be a beautiful day where there's like 8 to 10 to 15 setups, and then you're not even able to take all of them because you're only one person, right? And so you get like 4 to 5 setups, 5 to 8 setups, whatever, depending on how frequent you are, your frequency. And you know, there was even a lot more to take. Okay, so anyways, I digress. I think I mentioned that. This is how I know I got to probably end the session a little bit here, right? But just make sure you're covering your risk. Okay, I'd say trade less, be patient more, let things unravel. Okay, wait for those candle to close it, candle to closes, and you know, stay close to the tape, right? So we'll see. So I'm just going to put some risk here, stop loss here, as I was mentioning, in the event that, say, Google gets down into this. This is the premium chart of this 202 strike call on Google, right? So if that gets down to the 160 in terms of premium, you stop yourself out. All right, because it's not following through. All right, so that means you get stopped out. If that's the case, make sure if SPX pops up here, TP some, maybe targeting that gap fill there at least. Like, can we at least get that maybe? All right, if we can't even get a gap fill over the next hour or 2 or 3, and you know that's going to be a little bit of a red flag. And then what's happening? Are we kind of back below VWAP, etc.? If we can't even get a gap fill in the next 30 minutes, or 40, hour give or take with this 30-minute positive COG bar, okay, that's going to give me a little bit of a red flag, okay, for this long SPX. Talk to me, Goose. Charles. All right. So slow and grindy. You can TP some SPX if you want. You can unload some. I just want to do that a little bit here on the live here so y'all can see it here, etc. Jeez, be patient. So I went short, TP'd one, some, cut out loss on the rest. Long, just TP'd some. Am I going to get cut out on the loss here? If that happens and the longs don't work out, range. Okay. And maybe I'll try to take a third stab at it. All right. And, okay, this is probably not the day to do some things like that, press, etc. Everything I just mentioned before this. Be careful. All right, that said, if you want to learn a bit more about this, I'll see some of y'all phantoms later in the group. Make sure if that thing pops new high, TP some. Okay. If there's no fall through, I mean, you're probably talking. I'm just gonna probably cut out down this area here. So I'm gonna keep risk anywhere between no more than 2 points here. So right. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Google. Just trying here a little bit of a TP1 here. All right, reds or sells. Try to see if we can get that gap fill there. You can see Google not even following through. One of the better setups there. Red flagging. So just be patient, folks. If you want a little bit more, learn more about this, go to TradePhantoms.com. That's where everybody in here started. I see a bunch of Phantoms members in here. Welcome to the team. Always a good, valuable members to the team. Everybody's welcome there. This is where you would check that out. TradePhantoms.com. If you go to this webpage here, click on register, and that will take you to this webpage here, where it will allow you to put your name and email and click register to what? A Thursday, August 21st, which is today, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you can read that, you'll be hosted by either Mr. Green or Mr. Black. Sometimes both of them. There's an agenda for about 90 minutes, give or take. They'll walk you through this. Y'all can read that. What Phantoms is all about in terms of institutional demand and supply. We're all professional traders here. All right, every asset class, stocks, futures, forex, options, even crypto, short-term trading for income, just even scalping S&P futures, or even I'm scalping here a little bit of options here, right, off the open, all the way to long-term wealth management, investing for your children's grandchildren, right? So future wealth, okay, multi-direction, one-stop shop for everything. If you like it, great. If you don't like it, great as well. We're going to continue to do our thing here, and sitting out trying to train some professional traders and people who are looking to make a change in their lives. And if that's not you, that's okay. And if that's you, you got to start there. TradePhantoms.com. I'll see some of y'all. Hey, Singapore, I see you, brother. Trade safe today, bro. It's range. I love you. If you can hear me, love you. Trade safe today in range, brother. At least for now. All right, that said, folks, blew out. I'm out. I'll see some of y'all later in the afternoon for class. And then tomorrow, it's Friday, God willing. Let's rip tape together. Hopefully it's a better opening range day. And we'll rip it, right? I don't care what side. We'll rip it. God bless. Take care. Trade safe today.